Nations.com.
This is the Gridiron Guesser, the premier guesser in all of sports.
Welcome in, everyone, to the Gridiron Guesser. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like our videos. At the Gridiron Guesser, we're just regular guys here to give you the very best picks on all the biggest college football games each week. We love college football, and we love to pick the winners. So if that's for you, then subscribe to our channel, like our videos, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss a single pick. And remember, we're not Vegas insiders or some professional odds makers. We pick the winners of the biggest games each week. You know, the games we actually care about watching, not just the games we feel the most confident in. Here at the Gridiron Guesser, we don't shy away from a challenge. We've got 5 of the biggest Week 1 college football games for you today. So let's f***ing go! Here are our Week 1 picks. Game number 1. Colorado at TCU. TCU is a 20.5-point favorite, with the over-under set at 63.5 points. The next season begins for TCU after finding their way to the college football playoff championship game last season. Gone is quarterback Max Duggan. Gone is offensive coordinator Garrett Riley. And gone is most of the production from a pretty prolific offense. Can quarterback Chandler Morris, new offensive coordinator Kendall Briles, and a new cast of players find similar success this season? As for Colorado, it's all about prime time. Can Deion Sanders really turn around one of the worst programs in the Power 5? I mean, if you haven't been paying attention over the last several years to Colorado, which you probably haven't because they suck, the Buffaloes have been absolutely, undoubtedly f***ing terrible. Primetime brings with him his own unique style of coaching. He gutted the roster and brought in his own guys. His son will be playing quarterback, and Travis Hunter, the former #1 recruit in the country, will probably play both ways. So will it pay off? Maybe, but not this Saturday. So what's going to happen? TCU was 10-4-1 against the spread in 2022, including 4-1 as the home favorite and 4-1 versus non-conference opponents. Colorado was just 2-10 against the spread in 22 and 0-6 as the road dog. This game between Colorado and TCU will go just as expected. The hype will be there. Everyone wants to get a glimpse of just what Deion Sanders can do at Colorado. And then reality will set in by halftime. Colorado is simply outmanned and outgunned in this one. TCU will have a few of their own struggles on offense. New offensive coordinator Kendall Briles is good, but he's not Garrett Riley good. The TCU defense is for real and will slow down the outmanned Colorado team, especially at the line of scrimmage. Expect this one to get lopsided. The Gridiron Guesser says TCU wins and covers in the season opener 37-14. Game number 2. Utah State Aggies at the Iowa Hawkeyes. Iowa is a 23.5-point favorite. The over-under is set at 49.5. So, can Iowa score enough points to cover 23.5-point spread? I mean, their offense averaged less than 18 points per game last season. Yes, we know. Offensive coordinator Brian Ferentz must score 25 points per game this season per his updated contract. Iowa has experience back this season, and new quarterback Cade McNamara should help. The Hawkeyes defense figures to be very strong again this season, maybe even elite. And could the Hawkeyes possibly get a defensive score to help with the points? As for Utah State, 2022 was somewhat of a disappointing season, finishing 6-7 after an 11-3 season in 2021. Head coach Blake Anderson is back for his 3rd season at Utah State and must replace most of the offensive production from a season ago. The defense returns only 5 starters from last season, which gave up over 31 points per game and nearly 400 total yards of offense per game. If Iowa needed a soft defense to score points on to start this season, this is probably it. So what's going to happen? Under Anderson, Utah State is 14-13 overall against the spread, and they're 5-3 as a road dog. Iowa is 16-11 against the spread over the last 2 seasons, but only 6-6 against the spread as a home favorite. The Hawkeyes are 5-3 against the spread versus non-conference opponents since 2021. In his 24 seasons in Iowa City, Kirk Ferentz is 65-56-1 against the spread as a home favorite. Iowa is going to win the game, and they're going to win the game comfortably. But 23.5 points is just a lot of points for a team that struggled so much on offense last season. So until the Hawkeyes prove otherwise, the Gridiron Guesser says the Hawkeyes win 30-7, but they do not cover the spread. Game number 3. West Virginia at Penn State. Penn State is a 20.5 point favorite. The over-under is set at 49.5. At first glance, this looks like a game you want to sit down and watch. 2 big-name, recognizable teams going head-to-head in prime time. But let's be honest. This is a game that features one really good team and one really bad team. Penn State is going to be very good this season. West Virginia is not. College football will be better off when West Virginia returns to the West Virginia of old. But for now, they're just not any good. So what's going to happen? Penn State is going to win easily in this one. West Virginia might hit a big play or two, and the nerves and adrenaline of first game vibes might force Penn State into some, uncharacteristic mistakes and sloppiness. But the Nittany Lions will have no trouble putting away the Mountaineers in what will end up in a rout. Think the 41-12 ass-kicking the Nittany Lions gave Auburn last season. This one looks to be similar. The Gridiron Guesser says give us Penn State to win and cover 45-17. Game number 4. The South Carolina Gamecocks versus the North Carolina Tar Heels from Charlotte, North Carolina. North Carolina is a 2.5 point favorite. The over-under is set at 64.5 points. Drake May returns for the Tar Heels, and expect that to mean North Carolina will put up tons of points this season. Is North Carolina really an ACC contender? Maybe, but not unless their defense that gave up almost 31 points a game and 440 yards in 2022 improves drastically. South Carolina comes into 2023 as a Cinderella dark horse to contend in the SEC East. Spencer Rattler is back for another season, and the Gamecocks finished off 2022 beating Tennessee and Clemson. Similar to UNC, South Carolina needs to improve defensively to have any real shot at contending in the SEC East, and Spencer Rattler must be more consistent and throw far fewer interceptions. So what's going to happen? Points. Lots of points. North Carolina and South Carolina are going to score points. The defenses for both teams are just not good enough to stop the opposing offenses. There will be some first-game miscues that make the game sloppy from time to time, but expect both teams to put on a show offensively. South Carolina is 8-2 against the spread versus non-conference opponents under Shane Beamer. And overall, the Gamecocks have won 7 of the last 9 meetings. As for North Carolina, they are 4-8-1 over the last 10 seasons in neutral location games. Head coach Mack Brown is 27-27-1 at North Carolina against the spread versus non-conference teams. Ultimately, we think this game will come down to who has the best player, and that is clearly Drake May of North Carolina. So even though it goes against some of the critical trends, the Gridiron Guesser is stepping out on a limb and saying the Tar Heels win and cover 41-38. Game number 5. The Florida State Seminoles versus the LSU Tigers from Orlando on Sunday. LSU comes in as a 2-point favorite. The over-under is set at 56.5 points. For the second season in a row, these two teams will meet early in the season. Last year, Florida State got a miracle win by blocking an extra point at the end of the game. Both Florida State and LSU went on to have better than expected seasons. This year, both teams come in with very high expectations. A Week 1 heavyweight fight is just what college football fans want, and we finally get it here on Sunday night. LSU comes in as a 2-point favorite, but will be without defensive tackle Mason Smith because of a ridiculous suspension. I mean, can we not just end the NCAA for college football? Good f***ing grief. Also gone for the Tigers is running back John Emery. Quarterback Jaden Daniels was fantastic for the Tigers last season, and we expect him to have an even better season in 2023. As for the Seminoles, quarterback Jordan Travis will not be outdone. He returns with a slew of talent around him that should help Florida State score points in bunches and have a stellar passing offense. Both defenses return experience up front, but LSU's secondary could be a little thin entering the season. So what's going to happen? This game is going to be played much better than the game in 2022. It's a true heavyweight fight, and both teams will come out looking to put their stamp on the 2023 season. Quarterbacks Jaden Daniels and Jordan Travis will be able to move the ball throwing and running, but the defenses will also be able to come up with big stops in critical moments to keep the outcome in doubt. LSU was 8-6 against the spread in 2022, including 4-1 versus non-conference opponents. The Seminoles were 8-5 against the spread last season and are 16-17-1 against the spread under head coach Mike Norvell. Florida State is 4-1 against the spread versus LSU in their last 5 meetings. The talk leading up to this game has focused on how the Tigers were able to win the SEC West last season over Alabama and are good enough to do it again this season. On the other side, doubt has been expressed toward the Seminoles as to how good they really are based on the perceived poor quality of many of their wins from last season. So what's going to create separation in this game? The Gridiron Guesser thinks the game is going to come down to quarterback Jordan Travis versus the LSU secondary. Both LSU and Florida State have great defensive fronts, but we think that Florida State will be able to expose the LSU secondary, and that will lead to the Seminoles getting a win in Orlando. So the Gridiron Guesser is taking Florida State for the outright win, 31-27. So there are our picks for Week 1's 5 biggest games. Thanks for tuning in to the Gridiron Guesser. And don't forget to check out our weekly recap where we recap all of the biggest games. The Gridiron Guesser is new. Please make sure you subscribe to our channel and like our videos. We'll be back next week as we predict 5 more of the biggest games for Week 2.